There's times when we've all been in a situation where like, you know what, I'm going to tell this person about this thing. And then we say it and the person gets triggered. They blow up on us. And now we're like, I'm not safe to say this to them because our walls immediately go up. And the tactic, I guess you could call it a tactic if you want, that he taught me is to disarm them. And the way to disarm somebody is to go to them and tell them how you feel and before you do anything else. So it's like, hey, Lewis, like there's something that I want to say to you. If I'm being fully transparent, I'm terrified to share this with you because it's like really on my heart and I'm not sure how you're going to accept it. And so I started doing this with my wife and I was like, hey, like, cause the way that I always thought that the pattern that I always had is that if she got mad, she was going to leave. And so my brain would always go to like, there's something I did wrong. She's probably going to leave me. She's probably going to leave me. She's probably going to leave me. And it would always, and even though it never happened, luckily, it always kept popping up in my head. And so what happened was as things would happen, I would say, hey, listen, Lauren, can I talk to you? Like after we're not in a moment where things are heated, anything like that. And we're sitting, it's just a normal day. And I'm like, can I share something with you that's like been on my mind? And if I'm being honest, I'm terrified to say it.
Yeah, that's good.
And when you do that, usually they're like, oh my God, yes, I would love. And so the walls don't go up. It's like, I'm inviting you in and then allowed to communicate with that person. Now, I think that's important because you can then usually communicate vulnerably. That person's reaction, we can't control anybody else's reaction.
Yes.
But like you're saying is, I've shared it with you. I've gotten off my chest. Your reaction is in a way going to show me how open you are to making some shifts in this relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And also if someone can't accept you for you being vulnerable and courageous and opening up about who you are and they are going to leave you, let them leave you. Please. They're not aligned with you.
Yeah.
And the challenge is we get too chemically bonded and too invested in this person that we're afraid for someone to leave us. Mm-hmm. But if they're not right for you, they should leave you. Yeah. You should leave them. If they can't receive your emotions or receive a vulnerable conversation from you, is that the type of relationship you want to have for the rest of your life where you're walking on eggshells? Mm-hmm. Probably not. And people are too afraid to be left or that they've invested too much time, that the person's, now they've wasted all these years. But if you're not in alignment, you can try to communicate to get in alignment and go to counseling and therapy. But eventually, if it's not working, why make it this hard thing? To go back to your question, should relationships be hard work? I think they should be conscious conversations continuously.
Yeah.
Maybe that's hard to do at the beginning, but over time, that should bring you closer together and make things easier.
Right.
Because you're having conscious conversations about roles and responsibilities, about agreements and boundaries, and about acceptance of who each individual is. And when you can get clear on all those things, along with your values, your vision, and your lifestyle, and be in agreement on these things and accept them, then everything else is a lot easier. Mm-hmm. And you just look at each other and you say, wow, what a beautiful life we have.
Right.
And that's what we do in our relationships. We just look at each other and say, what a beautiful life we have.
Yeah.
But it's because we're willing to have the conscious conversations. Some people might call that hard work. It's uncomfortable at times, but man, to have, a few months of conscious conversations for a lifetime of peace and gratitude, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I shared right before this episode, we recorded an episode for your podcast, the School of Greatness. And I was talking about how I had a friend who I had met through a poker tournament sat next to me and he was a relationship therapist and we started connecting stuff. He's like, hey, it'd be great for you and your girlfriend to come in. And it was like 2 years into our relationship and there was nothing wrong, right? It wasn't like we were trying to fix something, but we went in and we spoke with him and we learned about like how I am. He had said something to me that was really eye-opening that I never thought of before. And
what did he say?
I was talking to him about, my relationship with my father and where my father was. And he goes, yeah, you were neglected as a child. And I was like, no. Like I wasn't neglected. Like, cause in my mind, I'm thinking like food, water, shelter, clothing, right?
Emotionally, you were neglected.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah. He said, you were emotionally neglected. And I was like, oh God, that feels true. Like I felt it. And I was like, oh yeah, there was emotional neglect there. And so he reflected to me something I never knew, but I started learning like how Lauren's love style was, how my love style was. And I left that first session and we had gone a couple of times to him after that, feeling like, number one, I understood myself more than I ever had, but I also understood her more than I ever had. But I felt like she understood me more than she ever had.
Wow.
And I think that that's important where it's like, a lot of times I have a friend who really wants to go to therapy with his parents, and they just don't. His dad's hardcore resisting it because in his dad's mind, he thinks that means he failed, like he did something wrong. And in reality, it doesn't have to be that way. Just because you go to therapy doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just means, hey, I kind of want a mirror. I want to have someone tell me something about myself that I might not know about. Like I'd been at that point in time, personal development for like 12 years, and I had no idea I was emotionally neglected. Wow. And then I started realizing that about myself. And so I think it's really important for everyone out there to think about this. Like if you can do it, if you can afford it in some sort of way, it would be really good for you to go and talk with someone on your own, but also talk with someone who is, if you're in a relationship with someone where you could start to understand each other a little bit better. Yeah. And to go back to the question of, do relationships need to be hard? I think relationships are extremely hard if you're unwilling to have courageous conversations. And they are going to be hard and they're going to be exhausting because you're going to expect someone else to understand you when you're not communicating with courage to them about your needs, your wants and desires. For sure. You're expecting them to just get it, to understand you, to just know what you want, as opposed to saying, actually, I'm feeling a little scared here, I've got some stuff I'm still working on. I want to talk through with you. And most of us are unwilling to have the courage to open up. Mm-hmm. And therefore we're resentful, we're angry, we're frustrated, we're insecure, we're needy, all these different things. And so it feels hard and complicated. But if you're willing to start opening up courageously and make sure the other person is willing to receive that, if they're not, they may not be the right match for you. Sure. You may just be out of alignment. If one person is willing to be courageous and the other is afraid, do you want that as a partner? And I think that's hard because a lot of people get chemically bonded early and they think about the dream life of this person, the fantasy of this person in the future. They like me and I have this chemical feeling when I'm around them or when I think about them. And they don't want to lose that feeling of chemicals. And I think that's where you get trapped. That's where you get in a really scary place of staying in a relationship for too long, making excuses for the person who is treating you poorly or not giving you what you need based on what you've requested, or who's doing things out of alignment with your values, your vision, and your lifestyle. And then you keep abandoning yourself and what you truly want for the hope that one person continues to give you this chemical feeling. Yeah. And that's why early on, I was just like, I'm blocking all the chemical connection. I'm not going there. Yeah. Sure, I felt attracted, but I was not willing to go there chemically for months. And I said, I just want to get to know your personality. And I'd never done that before. And I want to get to know your values, your vision, your lifestyle. I want to see you around your friends. I want to see you around your family. And I think people are so, myself included in the past, are so willing to give of themselves chemically and sexually without actually knowing who the person is. And then they're bonded for a long time. Yeah. You're bonded, you're connected, and you want that rush, you want that feeling. It's an addiction. And that makes you blind. Yeah. And so you got to do things differently if you want peace and harmony in a relationship. And that may mean you're dating someone for a while, and after 3 to 6 months, you realize, man, we're not in alignment. Like, we don't want the same things in the future. We don't have the same values, vision, or lifestyle. They want to have kids. I don't want to have kids. They don't want to be married. I want to be married. I can't accept them for who they are. And if you can't accept a person for who they are right now, you shouldn't be with them. Yeah. And I was like, that's why I said that there's really two main conditions. One, I'm going to accept you for who you are, and I need you to accept me for who I am. That's number one. Otherwise, this won't work because I'm not changing for you. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to grow for me, and you've got to accept who I am. Yeah. And I'm going to fully accept who you are. Where most guys would be like, okay, you're never doing a kissing scene again. You're never doing this with this actor. You can't do this. You can't do this. Now you're going to stop acting and just be a stay-at-home mom because it makes me feel safe. Right. I said, no, you're going to do you. And I'm going to trust you to make good decisions that are good for you. And she's been gone for a month because she's shooting in a different country right now. And she's doing kissing scenes. she's doing sex scenes. She's doing kissing scenes in another country for a month without you. Exactly. And I feel at peace. Yeah, I was going to say, so in another relationship, would that have just driven you crazy? I think 10 years ago, I wasn't as emotionally involved. And I think I would have been angry that this person is choosing to do something that would hurt me. Oh, yeah. It's all about us. We're always thinking about ourselves. Exactly. I'd have been like, how could they do this to me? Why are they not thoughtful about me? What do you mean? Why are they going to do a kissing scene in the movie? Can't they just not do this movie? Yeah. I would make all these things up and say, why are you doing this? And who is this guy? And
let me talk to this guy. You know, I would have to do all these things. And I put myself in scenarios weeks before we got like committed. I said, okay, can I fully accept who she is? I'd seen some of her previous movies where she'd done kissing scenes, but I also understand like when you're on a set, there's 50 people watching. Yeah. It's not intimate at all.
Can't be that romantic.
No, it's not. But you know, you have to let your ego down.
For sure.
You have to like let your ego die and say, okay, this is who she is. So is this the type of person I want to be with? Am I able to accept her and love her for the choices she makes and be happy for her and her choices?
Yeah.
Or am I so insecure that I need her to change to make me feel safer?
Right.
And I made that decision. And it's funny, when you make those decisions, the universe or God tests you and says, okay, you said you could do this. So we're going to put some extreme cases in front of you quickly afterwards and make sure you really say you're going to do what you're going to do. And I've been super calm and peaceful. And it's just been like, okay, you know, maybe I don't want to watch these scenes, but you know, I accept you and you're making great art. I'm just looking at it as you're making great art. And that's cool.